If a public company wants to acquire a crypto asset, we need to find a counterparty, like an exchange that we can vet, that we feel secure with. And normally the checklist would be, are they licensed in the United States, right? And the second checklist item would be, are they audited by auditors that our auditors trust? And the third checklist item would be, how do we feel about their security procedures? And then the fourth checklist would be, how do we feel about their business practices and their reputation? So, if you go through all those, you want an institutional grade exchange, an institutional grade custodian, and the jurisdiction. Companies like Coinbase and Fidelity, NYDIG, they would kind of check the box. We wouldn't trade with an offshore entity just because we need someone that's got the appropriate license in the US. And then there tends to be a pretty detailed process of getting comfortable with their back end operations and controls and accounting procedures and the like. So that's how we do it. And that's truthfully how any American institution, big public institution would do it. They would do it through one of those bigger names. And if you go to my Bitcoin for Corporations conference, we posted on our website, we interviewed 8 kind of institutional grade Bitcoin vendors, and we talked to Genesis Trading, we talked to Fidelity, we talked to NYDIG, we talked to Coinbase, right? So I would encourage people to look there if they're interested. Regarding the second question, it's a simple question, right? Our strategy is to acquire and hold Bitcoin.
Right.
So what I think about Bitcoin and what the company thinks about Bitcoin is it's digital property. And what we love about it is it doesn't change. It has a reasonable expectation of lasting hundreds of years. So our time horizon is 100 years. So effectively you call it forever, right? The difference between institutions buying assets and people is when a family buys something, they're thinking maybe they'll sell it at some point. But like when the Catholic Church buys something, go look at the Pantheon in Rome. It's been maintained by the church for 2,000 years. When an insurance company buys something, they're thinking I'll hold it for 100 years or hundreds of years. So same with governments, right? So when big institutions buy things, their time horizon is multiple lifetimes. And you're like, how can that work? Well, it can work because they exist just to exist, right? They exist to hold assets.
Yeah.
So that's what we're doing. And you're like, well, how can you not sell anything? Well, the answer is A, we're profitable, we generate cash flow. And B, if we ever wanted money to pay an expense, we would either generate yield with the asset, or we would we'd borrow against the asset. We'd either mortgage it or we would generate yield with it. But the goal of an institution is to acquire more assets. At one point, the Catholic Church owned 25% of all the buildings in Spain. We're acquiring property. We're not disposing of the property. And the big advantage, by the way, of a religion is no tax, no property tax, no income tax. That's how they get so rich, among other things.
Church of Scientology, with all their real estate buys all over the world, they own I think it's like half of Miami or something crazy like that.
But being practical here, right? The two big ideas. And this is a big idea. If you look at John Malone, a brilliant businessman, he did all these deals. He did TCI and he owned Discovery and all these cable companies. The whole point of the deals was always to be tax efficient. Like you never want to do anything that generates a big tax bill. So he was very thoughtful about that. You want to defer your capital gain. And so if you want to build a large asset base, there are 2 secrets. One, long time horizon. You buy something to hold it for decades. I think Warren Buffett's held Coca-Cola stock for 40 years, 50 years, maybe, right? No capital gain if you don't ever sell it. And so long time horizon is one. And then the second is be thoughtful about tax. If you were to buy $1 billion of property in Florida, you'd pay $20 million a year in tax. It's expensive to carry real estate in Florida. If you're going to do that, maybe you should find another state that doesn't charge you 2% a year, right? Or if with Bitcoin, the beauty of it is I can choose the jurisdiction where I custody it, right? So it's portable property, and then I can hold it forever. And if you have portable property you can hold forever, that's tax efficient property. At least theoretically, it's a lot more tax efficient than any other idea I have. If you buy a company like Apple, Apple's got a headquarters in California and they've got employees, and you're going to get tariffs. You're going to get California state tax. You're going to get employment tax. You're going to get corporate income tax. You see, you have domicile, you have a tax load. So MicroStrategy's strategy is long-term, buy, hold, buy some more.